Earlier this month, the National Coalition on Black Civic Participation officially launched its Unity 22 Get Out the Vote comedy tour and activation in Cleveland. The tour has engaged hundreds of voters in each of its stops through laughter, inspiration, and joy. Organizers have kicked off dozens of canvas launches, phone banks, and power tables to get out the Black vote. Joining us to discuss it is Melanie Campbell, the president of the National Coalition on Black Civic Participation and convener of the Black Women's Roundtable. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. How you doing?
Good to have you. As always, Melanie Campbell, tell us about the tour and tell us about the comedy aspect. Why the comedy aspect?
Thank you, and thank you for all you do to bring the information to our people every day. This is part of our annual Unity campaign, Unity Black Voting and Power Building campaign that we launched earlier this year. One of the things that's been going on out here is that coming off of COVID, coming off a lot of our organizers and leaders, not just of our organization, but many of our partners and folks who do this work on the ground to get out the vote, to focus on voters, fighting against voter suppression. People are stressed out. Right.
Yeah.
And so we were talking over the summer about what we could do. And we were asking our leaders, what do y'all need to do? We need some joy. Everybody's tired. I mean, just straight up. Right. And so we had done this comedy event during our Women of Power Summit with Michelle, Indie Mama Comedy, and some sisters who are on the comedy circuit, and so try to figure out something. What could we do differently that could, while we're out here doing this work, could bring some joy and some levity, and nothing like laughter to really soothe the soul. Yeah. So honestly, that's why we're out here doing this comedy tour, and we're bringing the joy. And so people who are coming, it's not just like a general public event. People are coming. It's the activists, it's the organizers, our affiliate leaders, partners, across generations, women and men, everybody coming and just having a night. But the message, like Tom Jones said, party with a purpose. Oh, we're still talking and mobilizing and organizing, even in those spaces around the power of the ballot. And then what we're doing in each location is that we're also going out and knocking doors. If they're doing whatever they already were planning to do, we're just coming there to help and support. And some places we're on buses, some places we're in vans and trains, some places we're just in cars, some places we're just walking. So it's not a bus tour, but some places people wanted to do buses. So we started in, as you mentioned, in Ohio. And we want to be many states, but not enough days in the month to do it. So we're in 5 states this time, but I think we're going to do this again. So we started out in Ohio, in Cleveland, and Toledo and Columbus. And then we left there. I'm losing track of the days. So a couple weeks ago, right? And then we went to Florida, where we had a comedy night in Orlando. And we were supposed to do canvassing, but we had to reschedule because a lot of places still are impacted by that storm, by that hurricane. So we're going back there to help them knock doors in Central Florida, in Daytona. Bethune-Cookman was one of the places that got hit bad. So we're going back and also bringing support to the folks who were hit by the storm. So we'll be back in Orlando with John P. Key and other folks like that, gospel night, to just continue to do that. And then we went to Georgia. We were in Atlanta, Metro Atlanta, Clayton County. And then now we're in Michigan. A little cold up here. But
you got your coat on.
And we're not just going to the places, the big cities. So we were in Kalamazoo. I unfortunately couldn't be there, but my staff and our team was there in Kalamazoo last night. And now we're in Detroit. We're in Metro Detroit the next couple of days. And then Pennsylvania. Then next weekend we'll be in Philadelphia and Pittsburgh, and then we're going back to Florida, and we're closing out in Georgia.
All right.
So it's a 5-state. I forgot how many cities and stops, but the whole idea is to bring joy and organizing. So that's why we say comedy, GOTV comedy tour and organizing weekends, because we mean that, and pushing the message about the power of the ballot. Like, part of it is that people feel like we haven't won. We're winning. We just haven't won everything that we fighting for and what we voted for. And we're also trying to send that message.
Well, Black women have played pivotal roles in voter mobilization and voter turnout for years, right? More than 2/3 of Black women turned out to vote in the 2020 presidential election, the third highest rate of any race gender group. Now, with what, couple of weeks away, Black women are urged again to approach this non-presidential election with the same vigor as they did in 2020 during the general election, Melanie. With that, what sense do you get from Black women voters in particular at this stage when it seems really that once again the outcome depends upon them?
It's a daunting task, but our ancestors went through more. And what I'm feeling out there, and like the summer when I was out, you weren't feeling the level of enthusiasm. I don't know if that's even the right word. Level of urgency. There is a sense of urgency that's out there, and that I think is what's driving. But the brothers were showing up too. We had a lot of young brothers knocking doors with us in Clayton County, Georgia. With Helen Butler and Felicia Davis and John Taylor, the Black Male Initiative Group, brought brothers out there. So it was very intergenerational, what I'm seeing, even though it's all women comedians, because it's a sisters thing, but we invited everybody. So brothers have been there.
Well, we like to see Black women comedians,
right? Felicia Davis, and then that's what's been fun about it, right? But we're knocking those doors, and from the little ones to the grown folk, and that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to break it because brothers are also, been a lot of stuff out here saying, brothers, upset with the sisters. No, that's not what we're feeling. It's like we all here, and if we win, if Black women are ever, y'all was talking about the secret sauce. Our secret sauce is to not just motivate ourselves, but motivate us, our families, our friends, our loved ones, our community, our brothers. Right? Like you got the power too. It's like this is no competition. The competition should be how much can we show up so we can win? Because that's what we're trying to do. We want to win. I get it. I'm listening to brothers. We've had some other things that we've done with 100 Black Men of America and had these conversations with my brother Wes Bellamy and other folks, Lon participated in, Walls and others. Tell us what y'all looking for. We got a young brother that's on our team, Daryl Coles with Black You Vote. Tell us it's the same thing that sisters are. We're feeling a little powerless. And then we said, no, own your power of that. We're not going to let them take that, right?
Mm-hmm.
If we're fighting for our rights, our voting rights, economic justice, concerned about crime in our neighborhoods, all these things, poverty, whatever, women's right to control our bodies, all these things.
Yeah.
And they want us to get, when the enemy wants to take, they're going to make it so hard for you. And the question becomes, are we going to fall for it? And we're not. It's not the only tool. It dang sure not the only tool, but I didn't live here a few decades now. I do understand that it will matter, and it'll matter for a long time if you let certain things happen at the wrong time.
Well, all across the country, voter registration efforts are at the forefront. You got NNPA has its 10 million more Black voters campaign, Rock the Votes nationwide engagement. There's been a focus on signing people up to vote, but that's half the battle, though, right? Signing them up.
Yeah. Registration is important, right? Putting new people on the books. We spend a lot more time and resources, because they're limited, on those who are registered, right? Those and making sure they have what we did over the summer. Are you vote ready? You all helped push that out for us through the Black press, and we thank you all for that, to get people ready to vote, because there is a lot of voter suppression laws, because we have not been able to get federal voting rights reform yet. We're facing some states that have some really bad laws on the books to try to suppress our vote, right? And if fear, Florida is one of them, right? Locking people up who didn't know that they couldn't vote.
Yeah, we did that story just the other day.
And all it is a way to threaten and put fear. And this republic, this representative democracy we have is very flawed, yes, but we know for sure that if we allow it to become where you got a straw man controlling everything, then we're in a state that doesn't, and states' rights, right, have never been about Black people's rights, right? It's about controlling Black and brown people. And we're at that point. I mean, there's no joke. You got people running who are real clear what they're planning to do if they can take control of secretaries of state. Some things that we don't really think about that much, but it's like, in our face, in our time, we're looking at the erosion of this structure that would put us in a third, not even second class, I say third class citizenship role that we can't allow that for our kids, right? And so we ain't going out without a fight. And I'm not going back to the back of the bus because you are afraid about the country turning browner. That's what all this stuff is connected, going after school curriculums and critical race theory, all of the white replacement theory. It's all about fear, right? And fear can drive the way people vote. And it's unfinished, I believe, issues around racism in this country. And it's all related, which is why we need to have some joy in all of that, right?
And that's why you interjected the
right, because it can be daunting and heavy, right? And we got to still have some joy while we fight.
Joy while we fight. That's an interesting statement there. Melanie Campbell, the convener of the Black Women's Roundtable. Black Women's Roundtable and Essence Magazine recently got together. You guys conducted a Power of the Sister Vote poll, which is a survey of Black women voters on the issues that matter most to them. A prevailing theme I saw on this, Melanie Campbell, is economic anxiety. Right? Nearly half of the respondents said they felt that they are falling behind economically. Half of the respondents say economic conditions are worsening. So getting people registered, again, is half the battle. So when you talk to when you've been speaking to people on this tour about economic conditions, which way are they leaning when the initial conversation is happening?
The realities of day-to-day life is real. We do know the poll reflected that women, Black women, are still having a harder time even recovering from COVID-19. That consistent relenting almost 2 years of how that impacted the economy, right, and it impacted jobs and entrepreneurship, all of that, right. So the first thing order is don't tell somebody that they're not feeling pain. The first thing was just to listen, and so that we could have an understanding of okay, and share with them what has happened, and share with them that we do still believe that in order to address those economic anxiety, you got to pay attention to who is talking about relieving you of that, who is really addressing it, right? And make those decisions, not just what's going on in Washington. It's right there. So many states have governor's races and state legislative races. And these are the people who are going to set the economic policy, whether you're talking about issues around jobs, job opportunity, whether you're talking about issues around having work-family balance, paid leave, things like that, that really stood out and how it impacts us. So that's a child care, because for women, especially women who are child rearing and raising babies, and grandmamas who still helping to raise babies in our community, child care, right, is a big thing. Housing, and who's going to deal with the cost of rent? Rents are skyrocketing, and then people aren't able to get loans. And so being able to know that who sets those policies and who's going to address them. And we can't tell you who to vote for. That's not what we're here for. We're just saying, hey, here's information. That way you can make a decision about who you think is going to address those concerns, to be, again, power of that ballot, to deal with economic justice as one of those core components of what we're fighting for, and share with them what they have gotten. The young people didn't get all they wanted, but they got student loan debt relief, right? Most of our Black students have Pell Grants. They can get up to $20,000 in relief, right? That's because you voted, right? And just point out those kinds of things that are happening. Making sure you follow the money, right? It's a lot of money that's coming down the pike into our community. We got to make sure we get some of that money, because that's our tax dollars, right? Through a lot of the infrastructure bill that was passed. Just give people the information. It's like is important, and also listening to them, taking the time. That's what our folks have been doing on the ground all year, knocking on doors and listening to people. We've been having all kinds of opportunities to just listen, because you can live in a bubble, even in work, even trying to do good, you can be tone deaf. So you have to also listen, and then to be able to say, okay, this is what folks are telling us. We can do the polls, which gives us what I see as validates what we're hearing, but not as the only. That's why I don't listen to polls alone.
Yeah, I was
hearing about what's
mentioning
going to
that
happen
this morning. Yeah.
You got to tone it out. It's like, what are the people saying?
Yeah.
You know, and the numbers in Georgia with their early votes say the people are paying attention because they're showing up. Now, who's showing up? You know, depending on which side of the aisle you're on. But our people are also, whoever's showing up, our people are showing up in Georgia. That's an example of people are paying attention and seeing the vote matters to the concerns they're having, and the anxiety, as you mentioned, that they're having in their day-to-day life.
Well, we continue to talk on this program about messaging, and many have continued the narrative that, for instance, the Democrats, their messaging hasn't connected with Black voters, at least not in a way in which it would motivate them. What are your thoughts on how Democrats are campaigning? And likewise, if you will, give us the same about Republicans.
Well, you know, that's a hard one in a sense, because I'm on the nonpartisan side, but I'll just, as an observation, right? I think that the Democrats did not do enough early on to tell people what they were doing, and have that, like, stay in campaign mode, right? Can't do anything about that now, but they can just push it as hard as they can, and then the same thing. You know, you got to listen to what the people are saying and address those concerns. On the Republican side, I think they've been very consistent in stoking fear and stoking division. They have been relentless and consistent. So there is an element out there that doesn't believe the election was from 2020 was valid. That they're using all kinds of things that historically we have seen, but just a different face on it. That stokes racism, that stokes racial animosity towards other and otherizing everybody else. And they've been pretty effective at it. The question becomes, those who believe that's not the way to go, who's going to show up more? This is a ground game, straight up hard ground game that we're undertaking in this country. But I have hope, and I have faith, and as long as I'm breathing, I'm gonna keep pushing and to try to be a part of that solution, and let our folks know, hey, we got the power. I'm not powerless.
Well,
right? We're not powerless. We are powerful people, and whatever happens, we're gonna get through it. But let's get through it so we can have some quality, improve our quality of life. Not have our young people having less than we even had in our generation.
Yeah.
You know, and that's important.
Well, I think you sort of answered my next question, but let's talk about it. We know, as you said earlier, you can't trust the polls. Recent history has shown us that we can't trust what the polls say all the time. But with that said, where are we now, Melanie, when it's all said and done in November? Are there solid reasons for Black voters to be encouraged, or at least reasonably hopeful about the outcome?
One of the pastors that we were in Columbus, Georgia, says you can't have faith and feel hopeless. They don't match up. If you have faith, whatever your faith is, then you never give up hope, right? And so they have to go hand in hand. So even when in the darkest of days, hey, there's always a light in the morning. And I believe that, right? Doesn't mean they're not gonna have some hard times, right? Because I tell our young people, it doesn't happen every day. But if you have faith and you work it and you push it and we come together as much as we can, we're not a monolith, but we also know when we're under threat. And we're under threat. You see, we in danger, y'all. And that's real. And not to make fear, but be reality. Check the reality of what's going on. Don't put your head in the sand and say it don't matter, because they're coming they'll pull you out of the dirt anyway, and bring that pet pain. So might as well box with them, you know, and that's where I'm coming from. Like, oh, you coming for me? Okay, I'm coming back. Wow, right? We got power, right? And that's all I'm saying. It's like that's all we're trying to do. And it's like, and whatever happens on November, by the other side of November 8th, which I think some places we're not gonna know the answers anyway, but it may take a few days. But we're into the formal part of this election. We just roll up our sleeves, see where we are, and just keep fighting.
And your work will continue. In closing, Melanie Campbell, tell us what to expect on the rest of this tour. Who is on the tour, if you can,
Yes.
with the comedians?
Yes. Well, a couple of them, because we have different ones. The ones that are consistent is Michelle, Indie Mama Comedy, and B Flat. Those are the two consistent. We got different ones coming through. We got national partners, state partners. My brother Mark Moriel going to join me in Philly. We got folks that are showing up in different places. All this is being led, even though it's national, it's led from our leaders on the ground, who are inviting their partners, but also nationally join us. We're kind of coming all together, and that's been the fun of it, right? And every place has been different. Different kinds of responses, but all at the end of the day, people have, there's been to no place we've been that people didn't leave there feeling joy and say, you know what, oh, I needed this. So and so we got, you know, because sometimes you don't know. It's like, you're having a comedy tour to get out the vote. I'm like, yeah, that's what the spirit, we trying to figure out something unique and to address listening. Right. To our leaders, listening on the ground, who are doing this work consistently, who said we haven't had a break in 6 years, right? That's what we were hearing, like, because there's been constant fight. What can y'all do just to bring it? And this came up, and so we're glad, and thank God for our sponsors and people who've been helping us pay for this thing, because it does cost money to do this.
I would imagine so. Well, Melanie Campbell, the president of the National Coalition on Black Civic Participation and convener of the Black Women's Roundtable, we thank you so much for joining the Black Press of America's Let It Be Known. Thank you so much.
Thank you. See you soon. Absolutely. Come join us in one of the cities.
Everybody, Melanie Campbell, have a great day.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
You too.